Because 70 years since the foundations were laid for our welfare system. It's about to undergo its biggest ever change. Next year, a large array of benefits will be rolled into a single, all-encompassing benefit, the Universal Credit. Also being replaced is the Disability Living Allowance. As Paul Baltrop reports, the changes are causing alarm among many disabled people.
They protested in Bristol and across the land, but it didn't stop the government's welfare reforms passing into law. There's great worry about what lies ahead.
I receive care from social services and I'm permanently anxious now that my care will be slashed.
Why are they making it harder to actually claim the money? It's mean, it's stealing from blind people, it's stealing from disabled people.
They'll find out what it means within months. The changes start next April when the Disability Living Allowance is replaced by a new personal independence payment. Then from October, many others will go. Child tax benefit, housing benefit, employment support allowance, job seekers allowance, income support and working tax credit are all replaced by universal credit, which will be phased in over 4 years. The present benefit system costs the country £200 billion. The aim of the new scheme is to encourage more people into jobs, ultimately bringing down the welfare bill. Sam Downey from Bristol has epilepsy and Asperger's, a behavioural condition. A self-employed broadcaster and web designer, he gets some benefits. He says most like him want to work, but politicians instead highlight the few.
I do think it's unfair. It makes me really angry about what the government says and the words they've used, such as scroungers, and saying that everybody must work. They're not considering people who cannot work because of their disability. That really just frustrates me.
He knows his disability isn't as obvious as many, but benefits enable him to overcome problems, like not being able to drive.
I have to use public transport to travel around the UK, and having a little bit of subsidy money allows me just to get to work.
He doesn't know exactly what help he'll get under the new system. Very few do. But there's real fear that many who need help will be left behind by the changes.
Paul Baltrop there. Well, Roger Berry, you've been campaigning for disability rights for many, many years. Are disabled people right to be worried that they could lose benefits?
Oh yes, I mean the Disability Living Allowance is one benefit mentioned. The government, after the election, planned to cut spending on that by 20%, so there are going to be substantial cuts there. There are cuts for people who are on employment support allowance who've moved from incapacity benefit, and the number of people who are entitled to that is being cut back. So there are various things happening that suggest that disabled people are bearing a large brunt of the welfare benefit cuts.
It's true that the numbers claiming disability benefit are now huge. It's gone up by 30% in the last few years alone. It's gone up, it's trebled, hasn't it, since 1974?
Well, don't forget, in 1974, there were many women who were not entitled to claim that benefit. The fact is that we've seen massive unemployment over the last 30 years.
3.2 million people claiming benefit.
There's not 3.2 million on incapacity benefit. There are other disability benefits people may be entitled to.
But on disability benefits, yes.
Yes, well, they are people who have... The entitlement has been improved over the years. Under the Conservative government and the Labour government, the number of people entitled to claim certain benefits has increased, because in a civilised society, people who are, for example, unable to work, or, for example, require additional support for costs of actually going to work, transport and so forth, the benefit system has been improved in order to do that.
Let's bring Charlotte in. I mean, Charlotte, whatever the causes of this recession that we've been going through, the blind and the weak and the vulnerable, didn't cause it. Why is the government appearing to target them?
Well, first, I can see that some people with disability are worried and afraid, and my heart goes out to them. But they actually don't have that need to be. The government's protecting spending of £12.6 billion on disability, so that's protected. And the problem with DNA is that it hasn't been targeted properly. So those most vulnerable people who most need it haven't been getting it, while those who don't need quite that level of support have. So 630 million has been overpaid, and 100 190 million has been underpaid. Now, those are people who should be getting that benefit. Now, in fairness to Labour, in 97, they did realise that this needed sorting out. But because it was too hard to do it, they backtracked on it. I think in 2011, I think Liam Byrne said the same thing. Of course, we must do it sensitively.
It's reckoned some disabled people and their families could lose £58 a week.
The point is we're going to have to focus it on those who need it most. And, of course, the assessments that need to take place must be done sensitively. The other issue you raised as well was about getting and helping disabled people to go back into work. And that is absolutely essential. I mean, there's all sorts of mental health implications if people are locked in on incapacity benefit. And almost a million were.
Well, look, I mean, there are many people in work, disabled people in work, who rely on disability living allowance to actually get to work. Disability living allowance is not an out-of-work benefit. You can't sort of say, well, we'll cut that and it will help people have an incentive to work. It will do precisely the opposite. I know many people who rely... I mean, many people who took part in the Paralympics said very publicly that without the additional modest support they get from DLA, they wouldn't have been able to work to reach that level of competence.
You can't argue that we need to target it better. I mean, we do need to target it better.
Well, no, this is the deserving, undeserving poor argument, isn't it? I mean, the government's making cuts.
Do you accept that?
But we're protecting the disability spending.
The announcement in 2010 was to cut £2 billion off disability benefits. That is what has happened. That is what's happened since then.
All right. We have to leave it there, I'm afraid.